So I want to make a promise to all of my listeners, and I need you all to hold me accountable. The Dream World podcast started off as a hobby of mine because I genuinely fell in love with talking and learning about dreams. As the holiday season approaches, I've been really thinking about the future of my podcast and my life. I've collaborated with so many awesome brands and researchers, content creators, and dreamers, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. To be honest, sometimes I have a hard time seeing if people receive it well or if it has any impact. I know it does, but it's always hard to see the value in our own creations, I guess. So I want to make a promise to the people who wait for another episode and love the content that we put out there. Well, first I want to apologize. I haven't posted in like a couple months. Part of it is my own doubts of myself, and part of it is me letting life get in the way. But this is important to me. So my promise is to commit to posting a new episode every week in 2024. I want to be a consistent podcast host that people can rely on as a part of their weekly routine. If this news makes you excited, or if you want to help hold me accountable, there are a few ways you can help me stay on top of it. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, leave a review. It costs $0 and about 25 seconds of your life, and it helps me tremendously. You can follow me on social media if that's your thing. Tell a friend. All of these are free things you can do that have a huge impact on my confidence and the growth of this podcast. Some non-free ways to support the podcast are to sign up to our online course. For $89, you will learn how to become a better lucid dreamer. You can also get personalized one-on-one coaching sessions with one of our awesome lucid dreaming coaches. We have a 100% success rate with helping people have their first lucid dream. All the links are in the description so you can read about the coaches and sign up. On another note, I legit am committing to releasing 52 episodes in 2024, which I know I can do. Consistency is the key to achieving anything in life, but I can't do it alone. This podcast is not about me. So if you love talking about dreams, please email me and let's keep the conversation going. It doesn't have to be an interview of the latest dream research. It can be your own personal story that you want to share with the world, a cool dream that you had. This is a new industry, and we're setting the stage for how the world views dreams. So I need all perspectives on this. I don't want to be biased to my own beliefs. Last June, I went to the Study of Dreams conference, which I've talked about on here before. I met so many cool people, and I really want to go back every year. Usually it's in the States, but every few years it's in Europe, and they have an entire team of dream researchers in the Netherlands. And today's guest is one of the members that I met from the IASD conference. His name is Harry. He's awesome, so please welcome him to the Dream World podcast. I'll let you take it away, Harry. Tell me about how you got interested in dreams.
When I was about 19 or 20, I was interested in it because, you do it every evening, but nobody talked about it back then. And I was very curious to know what it meant or what it was for. So I was looking for answers, and there was no internet back then. So I just had to guess. But the curious thing was that I was on a birthday party of my back then girlfriend, and her uncle came to that party and brought a gift for me. And I'm very grateful because it was a book about dreams. And we met before, and he had like a hunch or an intuition that was important to me. And he was right. So I started to read that book. In hindsight, it wasn't a very good book, but Carl Jung was mentioned a lot. And so I started reading his works, and that's when the journey started. My interest in dreams and psychology then, took off. I'm schooled in electrical engineering, so a whole other branch of science. But eventually, the interest and the passion for psychology and dreams took over, and I switched careers.
How do you take dream work and turn it into a career in this day and age when it's probably seen as something so new?
Well, I tried to take it like normalize it and call it, human interaction, and sought my work field in that area. So I was like an IT professional at some point, and I got a promotion offered so I could step up, and I didn't want it. And that was really weird. I was like, why? So I talked to a friend about it, and he said, yeah, no wonder. In our group of friends, we see you as a hobby psychologist. So what are you doing? That sort of like flipped the switch in my mind, that conversation. And I started to study psychology back then. And I got so enthusiastic that I wanted to switch careers and just, send out letters to companies before I even was finished. And then at the company where I was working, a job opening showed up, and I could start to coach my colleagues in their careers, and I got to practice from the get-go as well. So that was really awesome. Yeah.
So were you incorporating dreams in your studies?
I didn't have the courage to talk about it at first because it was sort of woo-woo, especially in an IT environment. Like, who is talking about that stuff? But at some point, you overcome your shame there, and it slowly became normalized as well. Especially nowadays, it's like more normal than ever to talk about it. But I remember like 10, 13 years ago, there was like a conference for health professionals about get dreams back in the daily practice. I was like, wow, this is a pivotal point. So I went to that conference, very expensive conference, but I was like, yeah, I have to be there. And I think it's normalized more now, but I try to gain trust with my coachees first. And when I thought there was enough trust, I would mention dreams, and they're like, yeah, I had this weird dream. And then, before it is about dreams. Yeah, I think there's some very important thing to the sharing of dreams, because, we dream about stuff that is important to us at that moment. We have to, solve something, and expressing that is very helpful for yourself, but, sometimes very much so for others as well. So it's like sharing experience or sharing wisdom or something like that. Yeah, I think it's very important to do that.
So how did you discover IASD, or the International Association for the Study of Dreams, which is how I found you?
Yeah, that was a coincidence too. So, luck was on my path, you could say. So let me sketch what happened before that. So I studied a lot, and at some point, there's so much enthusiasm about dreams, so I couldn't keep it to myself. And as an IT guy, I took a chance and put a forum on the internet at some point. So I couldn't keep up with the enthusiasm on the forum. I was like, wow, I'm spending from midnight to 3:00 in the night just answering questions, and I need to sleep as well. So that was one thing. I was like, there must be more people. And somebody pointed me out to the Dutch Association for the Study of Dreams, which is one rare occasion, a split of the IASD. I didn't know that. And I got to talk to the board chair, introduce myself. And a week later, I got a phone call. Hey, Harry, you got a technical background, and somebody on the committee for the International Association preparing the conference, he suddenly died. Can you fill in this position? I was like, I don't know. Yes. So I just jumped right into it, and I never came loose from it anymore. So I'm still doing that. Yeah.
Wow, it's great that you were able to connect that with the work that you were already doing.
Yeah, that is great. And it's important to also have a scientific mindset. I really like the mix in the ISD of science, practice of psychologists and therapists, but also like the art that you see there. There's every expression of dreams is there. And I think it's the mix makes it really valuable. And I think that's really rich to experience. And I try to do that myself as well. But, I'm a better scientist than an artist. But yeah, you do what you can.
Yeah, I loved it. I went for the first time this year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. I loved all the different perspectives and ways to study dreams, from the art to the science to the ancestral to the dance. It was great.
Yeah, and they don't shy away of like the spiritual part either. It's like, okay, we got guess what's in the box and dream about it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the dream challenges are fun. There's so many different ways to look at dreams. I really, really loved it.
Yeah. How did you come in touch with the ISD then?
After I started my podcast, because I've always been into dreams and, studying and just writing down my dreams. And then I was online I think on Clubhouse doing like dream groups and stuff like that. Oh. Yeah, I just heard about it on Instagram too. Just people I started to follow. Once I got into the community of people that are into dreams, it didn't take long for me to hear about it. Yeah, I made a couple friends that were members, and I had some guests on my podcast. And eventually I became a member. I was like, yeah, for sure.
I'm going there.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I need to be a part of this.
Yeah, great.
Do you have any particular dream experiences that really drove your motivation into becoming interested in dreams?
I don't recall that first dream experience that was like so awesome. I recall, having the really vivid dreams all the time. Well, yes, there was one very symbolic as well. So I was dreaming of, being the dream was set in my parents' house where I lived back then as well. And I was in the attic and there was a pot of gold I found in the attic. And, I was like, wow. And I sort of became lucid. I didn't know it was lucid back then. I sort of became lucid, like, oh, I need to remember where this pot of gold is when I wake up because, this is valuable. I want to keep it. And then there was a whole way I could remember that and put it in the closet and put something out of the closet so I would walk by it and see, this reminder. And when I woke up, I remembered it right away, of course. And I started to look for the pot of gold for real. And I was sort of in a confusion for a while, like, oh, wait, it was a dream. So that was like a very important dream when I was like a teenager, I guess, and realized that what is real? What is not real, where's the boundary there? So you start to wonder about the nature of dreams. So that was quite influential, I would say.
Yeah, it's so interesting how dreams can mesh with our waking life, and sometimes they can be hard to differentiate. Do you ever have lucid dreams?
I think when I was younger, I did it more often. But what happens more now, it's sort of integrated now. Like sometimes I think about the meaning of my dream while I'm dreaming and explaining my dream away. Like, oh, this is that, and I should do that without, changing the environment too much or, making a spectacle out of it. It's sort of normalized, I would say. I found it very interesting, gave workshops about it and how can you learn to do it and sort of let go of that. I think the very process of dreaming is more interesting, but lucid dreaming is still, part of the experience. But it doesn't happen every night for me anymore.
Yeah, makes sense. I found that sometimes I get more out of the dream when I just let it happen.
Yeah.
So I tend to appreciate my non-lucid dreams as well. And being lucid is fun, but it's not everything.
I think we dream for a reason. So that's you shouldn't mess with that. It's like not sleeping is not healthy for you. That's because it has a function, right? So you should just let it roll.
Yeah, that's true. So where do you fall in like the dream science versus spirituality spectrum?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'm trying to pave the way between those two. Yeah, trying to find a scientific solution for a spiritual feeling or the other way around. So I ran into this theory about world model, and I don't know if you heard of it. It's like Carl Friston. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
No. He talks about that we have inherently in our minds, we build a world model. And this world model helps us to be effective and predict, what's happening the next day and make sure that we're healthy and successful. But of course, there's like errors in this world model. And so we run into problems, we're not as effective or, we feel bad about it. And we dream about stuff that needs to change the world model. So I come to the conclusion by now that all our dreams are to weave this world model into a more perfect fitting reality, right? So the more you dream, the more it fits. And so I think that's why I say you shouldn't mess with it too much, because at some point you get like disbalanced if you if you don't work on that every night. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Our brain has its own processing to do. And I tell people all the time not to just obsess over lucid dreaming because there's so much within dream work itself and so many ways to look at dreams. So how do you begin to analyze your dreams and find meaning in your personal experiences? Do you write down your dreams at all?
Not every day. Sometimes you're in a hurry and you have to get somewhere. But when I have the time, I sit down and write my dreams. And I have this routine about remembering my dreams. If it's just, a bit or a piece, I try to I call it the spaghetti method, to try to have a string and then wait until the whole plate of spaghetti is clear. And then I write it down and also try to notice the feeling, the emotion that I have afterwards. So the accompanying emotion that is connected to the dream. I think that's very important as well. And then I try to connect it with real life experience of the day before, or, something that's been following me my whole life, like struggling for years with some subject that keep reappearing in my dreams. And then I put a picture, or try to make a picture of that. So that's where the artistry comes in, and make a picture of that. Nowadays, I do it digitally. So and they appear on my computer screen as a reminder. So now I have like this multi-screen here, and I'm looking at my own art. It's like, oh, I dreamt that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Super cool. Is the art an accurate reflection of what you saw in the dream?
Yeah, sometimes it is. And sometimes continuing the story of your dream in a positive way evokes a very positive emotion as well. Like, wow, you go to in a deeper sense of like understanding. That's something that art can do, that where, knowledge or science stops. It's like, yeah, you have to really experience it sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, honoring your dreams with art is a really good practice. So another question I have for you is, where do you see the future of dream research going? And what would you like to see studied in this field?
So this struggle that I had, like, what is dreams and how do you use it? And I would like to have that be part of education, right? So like to normalize it in a way that people use it as an everyday tool to just improve themselves. That would be awesome. And for that to happen, we have to, prove its usefulness and do research and practice with what works and what doesn't work. So I think being part of the ISD is helping a lot there. I hope it goes in that direction, like that we realize that we can make this world a better place by, improving ourselves first. And I think the best tool that we have for that is dreaming. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, I love seeing people start to get excited about dreams. I mean, I understand that like 5-10 years ago, not a lot of people were talking about this. So maybe we didn't have the language to be able to talk about these things. And we still have skepticism and resistance towards it, like the people that don't really remember dreams or they're not interested in dream work. And it's quite hard to study scientifically. So I understand that too.
Yeah. So if you don't remember your dreams, and it certainly feels like, not non-important or not even a real part of your life, right? But when people are interested and they don't remember their dreams, I dare them to, try this method, this spaghetti method that I developed. And after, maybe sometimes it takes a couple of weeks, but after a couple of days, usually they start remembering their dreams. And it's like, wow, start from being not interested at all in a very enthusiastic dreamer because it's such a rich world, right? So I think it's the unknown that makes that happen, not the topic itself.
It can be really frustrating if you have dreams and you don't remember them. So maybe you feel left out within this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through the spaghetti method that you're talking about?
Yes. Well, I'm sure I didn't come up with it all by myself, but I sort of made a method of everything that I read about. And the most important thing is like the incubation part, where you start the day before, like I'm gonna go and remember my dream, right? So make this positive intention and make that practical as well. Of course, everybody knows that as into dreaming with having a booklet or your phone next to you, so you can write down the first thing that you notice or remember. And then a very important part is you got about 15 minutes to record your dreams, because the forget process is 15 minutes. And in that period, it's important not to move too much. So if you woke up in a certain position, but you moved already, it's important to move back, because memory seems to be connected to feeling and also connected to your position of your body. So you remember better what you were dreaming about when you're in the same position. That's the first step. And then do not try to remember the whole story, like, I don't know, but try to remember the emotion first, or the feeling or the sensation. And if that comes without a story and just the sensation, just stay with that sensation the whole time. Just be patient until something happens and you're like, wow, there was a bucket. And that's the string of spaghetti that comes to you then, and just be with that string for a while until story evolves. And sometimes it's just one sentence that comes to mind, and sometimes it's a whole dream or several dreams. You never know what's coming. And I think you don't have to worry about like, oh, wait, that was my end of my dream. What was I starting to dream at the beginning? When you record your dream, doesn't matter what the sequence is of writing. You can also always reconstruct your dream later. So don't worry about that. Just write it down, whatever you remember. And I also advise people, if nothing comes, grab your booklet and write down, I dreamt that, as if you're going to write what you dreamed. That helps me sometimes to remember something, even though I didn't remember anything up till that moment. And I think that's about it. That's what I got so far. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how that physical act of writing your dream down helps stimulate more of the dream memory. I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, laying there, I do that all the time, just allowing the dream to come back into my memory.
Right.
I found even that remembering the dream from the last thing I can remember, like the end of the dream, is actually more helpful, because then I can kind of track back from there. Sometimes I'm just going about my day and I randomly remember a piece of my dream, which is nice.
That's true. You can sometimes maybe it'll come back later. And that's true as well. I think mostly, and I think you shouldn't be, waking up too much in that a quarter of an hour. If you're like, oh, I need to get to this and that appointment, I need to hurry. That's a no-no. Yeah. So you have to be in this half sleep still. That's really important as well.
Oh, yeah. I dedicate time in the morning just to lay in that hypnopompic phase. And it's really interesting just to be there kind of going in and out of a dream. It's a really interesting state of consciousness.
Yeah. And for some people that are, I never remember my dream. I said, well, just set your alarm clock at a certain time in the middle of your night, and you'll remember dreams then much more often than when you wait until you're totally awake. And that helps sometimes too, but I wouldn't advise it. It's not a good practice to disturb the sleep.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes I tell people too, if they don't remember a lot of dreams, to start playing around with like that hypnagogic phase of sleep.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have random dreams there and you don't even notice until you start to pay attention to the process of falling asleep. So a lot of people start dreaming just there, which is, accessible to pretty much everybody.
Did you read my method, or did you just figure it out yourself as well?
Well, I didn't read it, but okay. Yeah, and I didn't even call it that. I just kind of, I've just been doing that naturally. Like I know that, the body position makes a difference, and, just experimenting with that, you see that it works. So
yeah, it's true. If you're focused on it, you'll just discover it. Exactly. It's not groundbreaking, but it helps when people really want to, do it. And actually, that's how I started to do lucid dreaming, on purpose, is when I read a book of Stephen LaBerge about lucid dreaming. It's called Creative Dreaming, I think. And the very night I dreamt a lucid dream. So this power of intention or expectation or whatever you call it is really important as well. Like, it's possible.
So what dream projects have you been working on lately regarding dream research, or anything that you've been particularly excited about lately?
Yeah, I'm trying to get other people into it. So, even some companies nowadays are interested in the subject. So I'm hired to help them fill a day about intuition. That's their yearly topic they do in this company. And this year it's about dreaming. And so that's my project this week. So how do you start from people that know nothing? They're not, they're just curious. So you start with the remembrance, and then, interest them in the psychology, in the biology, maybe even sociology. Every angle that I know of is there. So that's really interesting as well. And I try to end up in this workshop to make it really personal and sort of magical, like, wow, this is a deep wisdom that's coming from the night, right? So I try to make it really tangible and scientific, but also, like I said, also sort of spiritual. Like, this is very meaningful to be doing this. I would say that's my project at this moment, is to bridge that, the science and the spirituality of it. Yeah, the meaningful part is what I mean. If I say spirituality, I mean, this sense of meaning that the hairs in your neck go like, wow.
Yeah, I think people love having these meaningful experiences, but sometimes the science and the evidence helps to really understand it and normalize it. Are there any particular research projects or findings that you like to share with people just to kind of introduce them?
Well, it's my own cocktail. It's this world model that I talk about, and I explain that every living being has a world model. There's like very small bacteria that has a world model of the earth turning. It has like a molecule that changes every 24 hours in certain phases to simulate the turning of the earth. So that's its world model. It's very important because it uses the sunlight to do its processes. So that's very important for it. And so we have a world model as well. And what I explain about our world model is that it's out there. So how does the world work? How does the social interaction work in this world? So, we need to be part of humanity. It's very important that we are part of a tribe, from an evolutionary perspective. So that's part of the world model. But also, who am I is also like, knowing who you are and what you are capable of is very important. If you misstep every day, overestimating or underestimating what you can do, that's not a good life either. So you have to know who you are. And that's your world model. So I start there, and then explaining that emotions are these labels that we put on our neural networks that do not function as well as they could be. And that is put in a stack. So this is really IT talk. That's put in a stack for the night. And the most important or intense emotion gets picked first. So what's wrong with that? And this starts to simulate a process of discovery. How can we do better? And that's not just one problem that you experience, but it must be a multiple of things. Because, when something went wrong during the day, I couldn't talk to my boss in a proper way, or I didn't have an answer when he asked it. I can't learn to do that during the night and forget about how to do something else, right? So everything has to be stable. So I explained the model of multi-objective optimization. That's something from science as well, is that you try to find a middle ground for a lot of stuff at the same time. And then I explain that dreams are weird because of that. You don't dream from one subject and suddenly your aunt is there and you don't know why, because that's an association that's part of this neural network that's associated with the problem you had during the day. And so I explain that in this way from a scientific standpoint. But also, you can view it from sociology or philosophy. There's a lot of standpoints you can use there. And of course, psychology. And what's very interesting is the neuroscience of neuroplasticity and how that works together with dreams as well. So because, our brain is mostly formed when we're young, and our neuroplasticity is very high when we're young. And that means patterns and habits and behaviors that, are common to us usually stem from a young age. But when we later on find out that there is a need for change, you need to locate that as it were, and our dreams bring us back to that period of time. So that's why we dream of doing exams or meeting this girlfriend from 20 years ago or this boyfriend, because you learned something and that's now you have to unlearn that or do that over again. And I think that's very interesting. To look at it from this, systemic perspective. It's called cybernetica, and I like that very much, to make it scientific like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's where it's interesting, and then I explain what archetypes are, that you dream about. That's like this this little mini story in the middle of your dream, that you can find and what you can do with it. And that's really interesting as well. So depending on how much time I have, it's I can spend a whole day or an hour talking about it.
Well, I do want to ask you about the archetypes. What is a dream archetype and how can we identify them? I know that some dreams are more personal and some dreams fit into this larger collective story. So what's that about?
Yeah, if you study dreams and you read about evolution, you come to realize that what we know is built on what we inherited from our ancestors, from organisms before that, right? And I think archetypes are sort of a way of passing on knowledge from past generations. It's like, how do you do stuff successfully, right? So how does a mother take care of a child, right? That's an archetype. The mother is an archetype. And an archetype is sort of a mini story with an atomic meaning in it. And the archetype of the mother is about care, and it's in relation to a child. And it has an action as well. It's like caring and nurturing and soothing, and that's the archetype of the mother. And then interesting stuff happens when the archetype is not doing that, and what happens then? And things get in disbalance, and then the story evolves. Like that's what an archetype is. I think it's sort of the building block of our intuitive knowledge. Yeah, so archetypes are really interesting. I think sometimes you can sort of make a difference between everyday dream and a very important dream because of this archetype showing up, right? When archetypes showing up, there's like, wow, this feels really important in some way. Yeah.
So what can we do to start understanding our dreams and learning about these archetypes? I know a lot of people have dreams that might feel important, but they just don't know where to start.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's like learning anything, actually. You've done that. It's just starting to do it and figure it out, talk to people about it. What I think is most valuable is sharing, like I said in the beginning, is sharing dreams with others, and especially like the explanation or sharing in groups like we do at the ISD conference in the mornings. The dream groups, that is really valuable, because when you consider that you're dreaming of your world model and there's like this blind spot of you that you have to fill in, it's really hard to fill in your blind spot, right? Because you're not seeing it. And it's so helpful that others that don't necessarily have that blind spot look at your dream and say, well, I think if it were my dream, I think it would mean this. I think that is really where it starts flowing when you start sharing it. I experience like just studying it and reading about it. That's not as valuable as sharing, actually. So I would say if you're interested in read about it a little bit, and then as soon as possible, find people to share.
Yeah, that's definitely true for my experience. Once I met a community of people and started sharing my dreams with other people, it just really grew from there. And studies show that you gain empathy for people when you share dreams together.
And I think, and that's connected to these archetypes. If you at a certain point start to think that way, like symbolically and associatively, you start to understand yourself better, even during the day, right? It's like, this has to do with that, and you understand like your own psychology in a better way. And you can practice that. So my advice would be start just writing down and remembering and reading about it, but start sharing and learning. It's a lifelong journey.
Yeah, it really is. I say that like all the time.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey. You can't really say, well, I'm done.
I love like doing dream share groups and things like that. And I started online, but now I'm doing more things in person.
When you start to share dreams, so when I'm in the committee preparing the conference for next year, and in this meeting, we share dreams. Just, it's a weird meeting, right? You should start with sharing dreams first. And when we do that, sometimes it's about the conference itself. And that's, is it in a good state or is it in a bad state or whatever? And the last time that we did that, we had something in common. So some people dreamt about the same stuff. And I think that's really intriguing as well, is that we can do that sort of collective dreaming. I don't know answers there, but it's super intriguing. How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have any personal theories? Because I know that dreams come from our subconscious and our daily processing, but how would it be possible for us to share a dream space with other people? That changes the whole game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just guessing, so let me guess there.
Yeah, you don't have to make any hard claims here.
No, right. So, but this, there's like what obviously we share is the real world together, right? But we experience it in a very subjective way with our own world model, and sometimes something is off in the world around us for everybody to see, right? So we're experiencing that together. You can see that around war situations, or when there's like hunger or disasters. So as with this example of mine, if you're doing a conference together, you have a shared reality that you're talking about, doing stuff in. So that sort of resonates, I think, through your dreams. Like you notice the same things, and so I think, I can't explain it better than resonance. Like something is resonating, but the very explanation that you dream about the exact same symbol as we did last time, it was like my colleague dreamt about mind control. I dreamt about mind control, and another colleague of the committee that wasn't there, I talked to her about it, and she said, she got eyes wide open. Really? I dreamt about that too.
How similar were like the aspects of the dreams and the...
Oh no, they were not similar at all. So this first colleague dreamt about a guy and a lady being in a boat, and the lady was poling the boat forward like an Egyptian shell, like an ancient scene, and the guy in the front of the boat had steered the boat with his mind. So that was, and then there was some symbolism of ancient history. So that was the thing that triggered me. And I dreamt about mind control, figuring out what is the program of mind control and how robust is it? And does it withstand, challenges? And I was testing it out like a good IT programmer. And then this lady that I shared later about, she dreamt that she suddenly woke up from this dream, like realizing somebody connected with her through mind control. And she looked at me, oh, are we a team now? And this lady and this guy on the boat, I'm like, is that a reference to me and her? Because we're both the hosts of next year's conference. And I'm like, is she polling the boat and I'm doing something with mind control? I don't know. It's very fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, there's definitely like a strong similar theme in all the dreams. And it seems like, everybody can receive a message in a certain way and it come out in different ways depending on the dreamer, especially if you guys are all working on the same project together, you all have this shared interest in it.
Yeah, definitely true. Yeah. Although we live on different continents, it's like, it's amazing. Did you ever have experiences like that, like collective dreaming or similar dreams as well?
Yeah, I've had some interesting ones. So my brother has vivid dreams, and he's a lucid dreamer as well, and so am I. And so we kind of have like this thing that when we get lucid, we try to find each other and try to.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of, try to do it intentional dream meetup. So it's an ongoing project of ours. But there was one time specifically that I was lucid and I found him in my dream. And in my dream, I kept trying to tell him it's my dream so I could like wake him up and see if he would get lucid. And there were a lot of like big city buildings around. That was the dreamscape. And I didn't even say anything to him, but he texted me the next day that he had a dream about me, and he described a similar dreamscape, and he said that he was kind of lucid, like in and out of lucidity, and he specifically said that I was trying to help him become lucid, which was interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think that's the fascinating part, is that interconnecting. So you asked about it, right? So what's fascinating to me is like, how do we find meaning in that collective experience? That's interesting. Well, that's the next level, because it's hard enough to figure out what does it mean for myself.
I mean, I think the more these stories come up, it's really going to like shake up the science world because it's something that's so hard to explain. And there's like so much resistance to like the concept of shared dreaming. But I think it's so fascinating and I think it's possible. Like I've heard some incredible stories.
Yeah, but it's so elusive as well because if you put it into a, you know, a laboratory setting, it just
Exactly.
it's not there, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't really create this type of dream experience on command in a lab setting, so it's really hard to research it. What about like premonitions? Have you ever dreamt something that happened later on in your waking life, similar to how you dreamt it?
Yeah. You know, when I lost my shyness about dreaming, I was like a manager at some point in this IT company. And a dream really upset me that morning about dreaming about my team that was responsible for. And you know, I said, like, I dream then and explain my dream while dreaming. That happened to me then as well. Like, oh my God, like I'm dreaming this, that must mean that. So what I was dreaming is like my team was at the root of a river. And as the river branched in different directions, this team scattered in different directions as well. And I was like, you know, flying over this river and seeing the people disperse in all directions. And we were a very tight team, very committed to our jobs. And I shared that dream with the team. And 2 years later, you know, economical circumstances, we were all fired. We dispersed to other companies and, you know, a lot of emotional impact and lost sight of each other, actually. And that dream came true. And everybody was like, oh, this must mean that. That's bad news. And it was true. We didn't foresee, you know, nothing happened that pointed in that direction at that point. But yeah, that came true for sure.
Wow. So how is it possible that your dream or your brain was able to predict that?
And it's like, again, it's like this resonance that if you think about it, you don't notice it, but it's maybe the way the director talked to me about the company, maybe the way he insinuated stuff because he knew what his plan was, right? And so maybe you pick up stuff that is unconscious, but when you are calm and you're in this sleep state and you're very susceptible to these nuances, I think you're a very sensitive instrument at that point. Yeah, I think that's how it works. I can't make anything out of it, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, we do know that our brain is always computing possibilities for things and making predictions for things, especially the things you pick up subconsciously, you know. And then the spiritual side of me says that, well, dreams don't have time. There's no linear time. So that's why they're able to see the future.
Yeah, there was this amazing dream talking about, like, I don't know what to do with that yet. There was an amazing dream that I had about sitting on a lotus flower in a pond, like a Buddhist monk, thinking about stuff. And I was in my dream experiencing 8 lives at the same time. So there's no time. And I got, you know, sort of lucid. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I should wake up and write this down. And then no, I shouldn't wake up because I won't remember. So I should rehearse my dream right now. And it's like poking in all these lives and sort of rehearsing. I'm dreaming this life, I'm dreaming that life, all at the same time. Like, how is that possible? So I woke up and wrote down the first life I remembered. And with that, the other lives were gone. I couldn't recall it anymore. It's like this amazing sensitivity that you have in dreams that is sort of gone when the mind awakens. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. When did you have that dream?
That was maybe 15 years ago. Yeah. I think that is as close as it gets to spiritual experience in dreams for me.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for making it this far and listening to another one of my podcast episodes. If you support the Dream World podcast, please leave a review, comment, share, whatever you got to do, and help motivate me to continue to grow this community and support other dreamers out there. You can expect new episodes every week, so definitely follow, subscribe, and tune in. Sweet dreams.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right. Have a good
All right. Have a good evening. Bye bye.